Hi, everyone. This is the Derby Watch preview segment. I'm Brad Free with David Aragona, and boy, the action does pick up in the month of March. And I guess it's kind of about time, David, but we have some very good deep fields to look forward to this weekend, including a big 3-year-old race out in California.
Yeah, we had some movement on Derby Watch last week in wake of the Rebel Stakes, and I think we're expecting a lot more this week as we have 4 Derby Watch members competing in the San Felipe in California, 3 of them in the Fountain of Youth in Florida. So expect to have a lot of movement this week, and we'll have a clearer picture as far as the Derby Trail grows after these preps are run. And here we're taking a look at the field for California's San Felipe to be run on Saturday.
Race number 6 on Saturday at Santa Anita, the San Felipe, and trainer Tim Yakteen is going to be busy in the saddling enclosure. He has to put the saddle on 5 horses. One of them, he's always trained, Practical Move. 4 of them were moved last week from trainer Bob Baffert to the Yakteen barn, those being National Treasure, Hijazi, and a couple of long shots, Fort Bragg and Mr. Fisk. By the way, 3 of the last 9 Kentucky Derby winners ran in the San Felipe. Medina Spirit finished second in the San Felipe in 2021. Authentic in 2020 won the San Felipe and the Derby, and California Chrome in 2014 won them both. Let's talk a little bit about the horse that I think will be one of the favorites, if not the favorite. And he was a top 2-year-old last year. He ran okay in his comeback in the Sham. I'm referring to National Treasure. David, he was among the top 2-year-olds in the country last year based on his 3rd in the Breeders' Cup. What about National Treasure?
Yeah, I think the concern with this horse is that he might have peaked a little bit early. We're seeing one of his best efforts when he was 3rd behind those 2 top talented 2-year-olds last year in Forte and Cave Rock in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. He came back for his 3-year-old debut in the Sham Stakes and was a somewhat disappointing loser, finishing 3rd in a small field. But we have seen the 2 horses that beat him both come back and run well out of that race. Obviously, Reincarnate unlucky to lose the Rebel, and Newgate won the Robert B. Lewis in his next start. So the form lines are strong, but we've got to see if National Treasure can take a step forward.
Yeah, National Treasure, he did not have a great trip in the Sham. He might have been 3rd best anyway, but in hindsight, you're right. Reincarnate came back to run a bang-up 3rd in the Rebel, and the runner-up Newgate came back to win the Lewis, subsequently sidelined. So that 3rd place finish by National Treasure is looking a little bit better. He needs to progress from that race. And I got to be honest, out here in California, there's a lot of uncertainty regarding the fitness level of every horse that will be running on Saturday, including the Santa Anita Handicap, Kilroe Mile, Buena Vista, and San Felipe. The racetrack has been closed multiple days. When it has been open, sometimes Santa Anita only allows joggers instead of gallopers. So some of these horses are going to come into this weekend having gone nearly 2 weeks without a workout, and it gives them a built-in excuse if they don't run well. A lot of uncertainty going into the San Felipe. But there's no uncertainty about a horse who was grade 1 placed as a 2-year-old last year and who returned to action this winter at Santa Anita for John Sheriff's. His name is Skinner, and I really do like this colt. I know it was only a maiden race, but David, this was a fast, powerful win by a good colt.
Yeah, I think he did everything that you wanted to see from him coming off the layoff. He took kickback much better than he had as a 2-year-old, made that big looping move around the far turn. And you can see he's finishing off this race seemingly with something left in the tank, crossing the wire with his ears pricked. And Brad, I think you have to take it as a good sign that he is running back on such short rest, coming back in 3 weeks in this San Felipe.
Yeah, trainer John Sheriff is known as a conservative type of trainer. The fact that Skinner, he came back and worked, and now he's back in action 3 weeks later, and he won that race with something in the tank. I like this colt a lot. I don't know if he's going to win the San Felipe. Like I said, there's been some training issues out at Santa Anita, but I expect him to run well, and I expect him to run even better next time in the Santa Anita Derby. There's a colt that's running in the San Felipe. Well, you know what? We're going to talk to him about him. Go Rocket Ride toward the end of this segment. There's a lot of good horses in this field. Hijazi is one of them. David, you have some doubts about his potential distance capabilities. What about Hijazi as he moves forward at these longer distances as a 3-year-old?
I mean, purely from a speed figure standpoint, he might be the horse to beat in this race. He's run faster than almost everybody else in the field, but he does have to prove that he can do it going 2 turns. You might not want to hold his American Pharaoh against him because he was facing a really good horse in Cave Rock that he had to chase around the racetrack, but it does seem like he possesses a lot of early speed for a horse that they're trying to put on the Derby trail, and there is plenty of early speed in this race that he's going to have to deal with on the front end, so I'll be interested to see how he runs. There's clearly a lot of talent from top to bottom in this San Felipe, but all of the horses have something to prove.
No doubt about it. Hijazi also faces a serious pace rival to his immediate outside in Go Rocket Ride. So going into the first turn, it'll be very interesting to see who gets the lead, who sits second, how fast they go, and who can keep on running. The San Felipe is race number 6 on Saturday at Santa Anita at Gulfstream Park, race number 14. It's the Grade 2 Fountain of Youth with a couple members of the Derby Watch, at least on this field. We expect number 1 General Jim. Correspondent Marty McGee reported that he is a potential scratch, which I guess, I don't know, he doesn't have much of a chance, at least to me, even though it was listed 6-1, a winner of the Grade 3 Swale last time out. But we do get to see the return of a champion, and Forte was no fluky 2-year-old champion. He won the Breeders' Cup impressively. David, you've been watching his works on XBTV, and you have liked what you have seen from Forte, who, by the way, is the new favorite on the Derby Watch list.
Yeah, as we discussed in our review segment of Derby Watch, I did flip-flop his price with Arabian Night, making him the favorite heading into this week, and a lot of that is just based on what I've seen in recent weeks. It does feel like he's training better than ever coming into this 3-year-old debut, and clearly, as you mentioned, he was a horse that showed a lot of talent and versatility as a 2-year-old, stretching out, handling the 2 turns, and we've got this short stretch run to deal with at Gulfstream Park on Saturday, but he's a horse that's familiar with that kind of configuration because both of his mile and the 16th races at Keeneland were won with a short stretch run. So I think there are not that many questions about Forte handling the distance. It's just really how he's doing coming off the layoff. And based on the recent workouts that I've watched at Palm Beach Downs, he seems to really be training strongly for this 3-year-old debut. So expecting a good effort from Forte on Saturday.
It's not a race that Forte has to win. It's his comeback prep, his first of 2 preps leading into the Kentucky Derby. But looking up and down this field, I mean, the gambler in me says you need to bet against a horse coming in off a layoff. I can't find anybody in this Fountain of Youth field that I can really get behind unless it was the front runner or speedy debut winner Mage. But boy, he's being asked a lot, stretching out against, you know, some decent horses second time out. You might have a different take on Mage. What do you think, David, about that good maiden debut winner?
Yeah, I think this horse generated some buzz with that first start victory, and he definitely is bred to stretch out, being by good magic. There's stamina on the dam side. Physically, I'm not sure that he necessarily looks that way to me, and I also want to see some confirmation of that Buyer's speed figure that he earned of 89. It was a number that looked pretty high for the other horses in that race. Gulfstream doesn't run that many dirt races on every card these days. I think there were only 3 dirt races on that card, so hard to have a whole lot of confidence in the speed figures on the dirt, and I just want to see him repeat it. And if you're looking to play against Forte, I think the logical horse you might go to is Blazing Sevens, but he's another one that's coming off the layoff, and he was pretty easily handled by Forte in both times they met last year.
Yeah, Forte was a better colt than Blazing Sevens when they were both 2-year-olds. Maybe things have changed in the last couple months, but Forte and Blazing Sevens, they are the top contenders in the Fountain of Youth. I was very surprised to look back through the history books and learn that only one of the last 27 Kentucky Derby winners ran in the Fountain of Youth. This is one of the biggest prep races of spring in Florida, but Orb in 2013 is the only horse since Thunder Gulch in 1995 to win the Derby after having competed in the Fountain of Youth. I thought that was a little surprising. It might be a statistical fluke, but anyway, something to consider moving forward. Forte, David, I think you and I agree. He's a legitimate new Derby Watch favorite, and he's legitimately the horse to beat on Saturday in the Fountain of Youth. Now, the Gotham Stakes on Saturday at Aqueduct, this is a race that really, I don't think it has any bearing whatsoever on the Kentucky Derby. If you're a 3-year-old and you're running in 1-turn miles in the month of March, chances are you're probably not a true, legitimate Kentucky Derby contender, David. What do you think about the Gotham Stakes and the field? I don't believe has a single Derby Watch member in the lineup.
Yeah, that is correct. No Derby Watch runners in the Gotham. And it's a race that I'm looking forward to handicapping when the entries come out later today, because it seems like a field that does have some talent, some good one-turn horses. It seems like a competitive group of runners, but I'm not sure how many of them, if any, are going to be true Kentucky Derby candidates coming out of Saturday. We'll see how they stack up against each other, but I think a field of 10 or 11 was expected. Arctic Arrogance, who was expected to be one of the favorites in the race, he's being withdrawn. He was not entered today due to a minor illness. So a lot of horses with potential that we still have to learn some things about, like Slip Mahoney, Lugan Knight, Iron Clover. These are all horses that have never gone 2 turns before, and obviously they won't be doing that on Saturday.
They are relatively lightly raced, and good things are perhaps ahead. In the case of Lugan Knight, I spoke to his trainer, Michael McCarthy, early this week. Lugan Knight has never gone 2 turns, and he won't be going 2 turns on Saturday. But if he runs well in the Gotham, they are at least considering the Bluegrass, which at Keeneland is where he won his maiden race, and they'll find out how far he goes. I think McCarthy, and I think certainly I do, believe that he probably is a sprinter, Lugan Knight. But look, he's a contender in the 1 mile Gotham. Iron Clover is interesting. He's using the Gotham as a prep for the Arkansas Derby. We'll talk more about the Gotham after it's run next week. But David's right. It's a good race to handicap and wager a big field. Another race that's up ahead is the Battaglia Stakes on Saturday at Turfway Park. This is a prep race for the Jeff Ruby Stakes on March 25th. The Jeff Ruby provides 100 points to the winner. The top synthetic surface specialists, I believe, that have been running in Kentucky are Wadsworth and Fantastic Again. Neither one of them entered the Battaglia. I guess we have to monitor it to see who runs against those two when they run in the Jeff Ruby Stakes on March 25th.
Yeah, there's a big field signed on for the Battaglia. I think it's oversubscribed. 12 runners will be able to go to post in the race. A lot of them are pretty short on accomplishments, though. So another race kind of like the Gotham that could be fun to handicap. We'll see if it has any implications on the Jeff Ruby Stakes or the Kentucky Derby down the line. But I agree with you. Those two talented runners that we've seen on the synthetic this winter, Fantastic Again and Wadsworth, do seem like they're well set up to take a shot at getting into the Derby in the Jeff Ruby Stakes, which does offer plenty of points to get into that race. We'll probably see 2 runners from the Jeff Ruby Stakes in the Kentucky Derby starting gate at the least, and those 2 have shown something, but we've got to wait until that field is drawn in about 3 weeks' time.
Yeah, that'll be late this March. The biggest races this weekend are the San Felipe and the Fountain of Youth. Before we wrap it up, let's talk about a few horses that are on the bubble, including a horse that has previously been listed on the bubble, and I kind of feel like we're giving this horse short shrift, and that's Go Rocket Ride. I don't know if he can go long, but he's going to have something to say about the San Felipe pace scenario on Saturday at Santa Anita, making his 2nd career start for trainer Richard Mandela. We talked a little bit about G's. He won an allowance race at Maidan, impressively, a California-based colt who went to Dubai on his way to Kentucky for trainer Doug O'Neill. He'll run in the UAE Derby on March 25th. Fantastic Again. And then David Henry Q, look, he's probably not good enough, but man, when you win by more than 14 lengths with a 93 buyer, you got to at least consider Henry Q, the likely favorite for the Sunland Derby.
Yeah, that number certainly puts him in the mix, at least based on some of the speed figures that we've been seeing coming out of these prep races that have gotten some horses already into the Kentucky Derby field. So Henry Q is one that we'll be watching pretty closely when he does run back in that Sunland Derby. But all the horses on the bubble list still have something to prove. I'm a little bit skeptical of G's, the horse that ran out in Dubai. Just hard to really gauge the form of the horses he was running against. We'll learn a lot more about him in the UAE Derby, another race that offers a lot of points. So we might see some horses coming out of the Dubai route to the Derby once again this year.
Go Rocket Ride, G's, Fantastic Again, and Henry Q on the bubble. In the spotlight on Saturday, the San Felipe at Santa Anita, the Fountain of Youth featuring Forte, the new favorite on the Derby Watch list. We'll see if he maintains that position. For David Aragona, I'm Brad Free, and we'll see you next week.